Summer is here, and everything you need for adventure is waiting at shockshop.us. Gear up with camping essentials, stylish bathing suits for fun in the sun, reliable generators for every outdoor trip, kayaks, dinghies, and water toys for non-stop excitement. From backyard fun to lakeside escapes, shackshop.us has it all. Shop the summer sale now and save big at shackshop.us.
What began as a routine sailing trip across one of the world's busiest waterways quickly turned into an experience that a retired British couple says they will never forget. Jane and Alan Kelvey were aboard their yacht, Bright Future, navigating international waters in the English Channel when they unexpectedly found themselves at the center of a confrontation involving a Russian naval vessel. Moments later, warning shots rang out near their boat, transforming an ordinary voyage into an international headline. The incident, which occurred south of the Isle of Wight, has attracted attention from government officials, military analysts, and maritime experts across Europe. While Russian authorities maintain that their actions were justified and necessary to prevent a potential collision, the British couple strongly disputes that account. Their version of events paints a very different picture, one they describe as confusing, unnecessary, and deeply troubling. A peaceful day at sea turns dramatic. For experienced sailors like Jane and Alan Kelvey, crossing the Channel is hardly unusual. The couple have spent years navigating coastal and offshore waters and were familiar with sharing sea lanes alongside cargo vessels, ferries, fishing boats, and even military ships. Nothing about the day suggested it would become an international incident. The couple were approximately 23 miles south of the Isle of Wight, outside British territorial waters, but still within one of Europe's most heavily traveled maritime corridors. As they continued their journey, they noticed a large vessel nearby. That vessel was the Admiral Grigorovich, a Russian-guided missile frigate that has become increasingly familiar to NATO navies operating around European waters. According to Jane Kelvey, the Russian ship first signaled their yacht by sounding 5 short blasts on its horn. Under international maritime rules, 5 short blasts are generally interpreted as a warning signal indicating uncertainty about another vessel's intentions. The Kelveys understood the signal immediately. Rather than ignoring it, they say they altered course slightly to make their intentions clear. "We made a deliberate change so they would know we had seen them," Jane later explained. But what happened next caught them completely off guard. The sound of gunfire. Only moments after adjusting course, the couple heard something they never expected to hear while sailing through international waters: gunfire. Jane recalled hearing several shots shortly after the second warning signal. The rounds were not fired directly at the yacht, she emphasized. Instead, the shots appeared to be aimed into the air as a warning. Still, hearing weapons discharged from a nearby warship was enough to dramatically change the situation. At that point, the couple took immediate action. Alan steered the yacht sharply away from the Russian vessel, while the pair assessed what was happening around them. The decision ended any possibility of further escalation. Yet the memory of hearing those shots remains vivid. "It was surreal," Jane later said, while describing the experience. For many recreational sailors, encountering military vessels is unusual enough. Being close enough to hear warning shots from one is something most mariners never experience. Russian military officials quickly released their own explanation. According to Russia's Ministry of Defense, the yacht had approached the warship in a manner that posed a navigational risk. Officials claimed the frigate's crew made repeated attempts to communicate with the sailing vessel through maritime radio channels. Russian authorities also stated that warning flares were launched before warning shots were fired. In Moscow's account, the crew followed established maritime procedures and acted in accordance with international regulations designed to prevent collisions at sea. The ministry described the yacht's movements as a dangerous approach. From Russia's perspective, the warning shots represented a necessary safety measure. The British couple strongly disagrees. One of the most striking aspects of the story is the dramatic difference between the two versions. The Kelveys insist they were never on a collision course. They also reject claims that warning flares were launched or that radio communication attempts were made. Jane stated that neither she nor her husband heard any radio calls directed toward them. Likewise, they say no flares were observed before the shots were fired. The disagreement has fueled debate about exactly what occurred in the channel and why. Maritime experts note that misunderstandings between vessels can happen, especially in crowded sea lanes. However, the use of warning gunfire remains highly unusual and instantly elevates the seriousness of any maritime encounter. Because no public recording of the interaction has been released, many questions remain unanswered. The confrontation quickly drew the attention of senior British officials. Prime Minister Keir Starmer publicly criticized the Russian vessel's actions. He described the firing of warning shots near a British-registered yacht as reckless. Starmer said the incident should never have happened and expressed concern for those aboard the sailing vessel. Government officials reviewed reports surrounding the encounter and concluded that the rounds were intended as warning shots rather than direct fire. Even so, the incident raised concerns about maritime safety and the conduct of military vessels operating in heavily trafficked international waters. The Ministry of Defense characterized the episode as isolated, but acknowledged that warning shots had been fired. British authorities emphasized that the shots were not aimed directly at the yacht. Nevertheless, the encounter has intensified scrutiny of Russian naval operations near the United Kingdom. Why the Admiral Grigorovich matters. The Russian ship involved is no ordinary vessel. The Admiral Grigorovich is one of Russia's most recognizable modern frigates and has played an active role in naval operations across several regions. The warship is equipped with advanced missile systems, radar technology, and anti-submarine capabilities. Over the past several years, it has frequently appeared in European waters, often attracting attention from NATO forces. Whenever Russian warships transit through the English Channel, they are typically monitored by Royal Navy vessels. These shadowing operations allow British forces to observe movements and ensure maritime awareness. The Admiral Grigorovich has become a regular subject of such monitoring efforts. Its presence alone often signals increased military activity, growing tensions in the Channel. The incident occurred during a period of heightened friction between Britain and Russia. Only days earlier, British forces carried out a highly publicized operation involving a vessel linked to Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet. The operation marked one of the first times British military personnel directly intercepted a tanker associated with sanctions-related concerns in the Channel. That event increased attention on Russian maritime activity. Analysts say the timing of the yacht incident is difficult to ignore. Many believe tensions between Moscow and London have been steadily rising amid disputes involving Ukraine, sanctions, intelligence operations, and military deployments. Against that backdrop, even a seemingly isolated maritime misunderstanding can take on greater significance. Royal Navy monitoring operations. The Royal Navy has long tracked Russian naval movements near British waters. Whenever Russian warships transit strategic waterways, British patrol vessels are frequently assigned to monitor them. During the recent encounter, reports indicated that British naval assets were already observing the Admiral Grigorovich. Following the warning shot incident, a boat from HMS Tyne reportedly checked on the welfare of the yacht's crew. The move reflected standard procedures designed to ensure civilian safety following unusual maritime events. The presence of Royal Navy vessels nearby also highlights how closely Russian naval movements are watched. Former defense officials and maritime specialists have questioned whether warning shots were truly necessary. Several experts noted that a large military frigate possesses sophisticated navigation systems capable of tracking small vessels at considerable distances. Given the size difference between the yacht and the warship, some analysts argue that the risk of collision may have been minimal. Former British Defence Secretary Ben Wallace was among those expressing concern. He suggested that firing warning shots toward a small sailing yacht represented an unusually aggressive response. Wallace argued that experienced naval crews would generally have multiple options available before resorting to weapons fire. His comments echoed broader concerns about military escalation in crowded waterways. Lost amid discussions about geopolitics and naval strategy is the simple reality that two retirees unexpectedly found themselves facing armed warnings from a warship. For Jane and Alan Kelvey, the experience was less about international politics and more about navigating a frightening and confusing moment. Despite the seriousness of the situation, the couple maintained remarkable composure. Jane later joked that she ducked beneath the yacht's canvas cover, while Alan focused on steering. Humor may have helped ease the tension, but the incident clearly left a lasting impression. Their story offers a rare glimpse into how ordinary civilians can suddenly find themselves involved in events that attract global attention. Whether the encounter was an unfortunate misunderstanding or something more deliberate remains a matter of debate. What is clear is that it occurred at a time when relations between Russia and the United Kingdom remained strained. Military encounters at sea are often viewed through the lens of larger political conflicts. Even routine interactions can become symbols of broader strategic competition. The English Channel, one of the world's busiest waterways, has increasingly become a stage where those tensions play out. As Russian naval vessels continue operating near NATO waters and Western governments maintain close surveillance, incidents like this are likely to attract intense scrutiny. Conclusion: the confrontation involving Jane and Alan Kelvey and the Russian frigate Admiral Grigorovich has become more than a simple maritime story. It now sits at the intersection of international politics, military strategy, and civilian safety. The British couple insists they were never a threat and believes warning shots were unnecessary. Russian officials maintain their sailors acted appropriately to avoid danger. British leaders have condemned the incident while defense analysts continue debating what truly happened. For the Kelveys, however, the event is remembered in far simpler terms. A routine voyage suddenly became an encounter with one of Russia's most powerful warships, and in the quiet waters of the English Channel, the sound of warning shots transformed an ordinary day at sea into a moment that captured international attention.